Listen, the money's running out. You've got 6 months runway left. The business isn't growing. We've got 6 months to turn this around. We got an email back from Selfridges in London Fashion Week within like 5 weeks. Selfridges were like, you need to come in now. People are starting to hate on me. When I first started Cano, I never in a million years thought that I could be the CEO. We went to Austria. The first can came off. We tasted it and we were like, oh, it tastes like water. We used to literally stand there and people would look at us like we were just mental.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Duncan. This is Josh. Welcome to Tab University. We are going to have, as usual, an open chat. It's actually the first time that I've met Josh, even though we've lived in a similar area for a long time. Yeah. Got lots of friends talking about Cano Water, which I think is an interesting story. Hope it is. So nice to meet you. Thanks very much for taking the time.
You too, Duncan.
Why don't you tell me a bit about this?
For sure.
Yeah, really keen to. I mean, it's incredible. Seems so simple, like all the best ideas.
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
So 2014, me and my two best mates went to Thailand and just on a normal lad's holiday with like no intention of creating a business. You know, at this time, you know, I would say that I was quite lost in life. Didn't really know what I was, you know, what my purpose was. I'd just come sort of out of a bit of a depression after a failed business, basically.
Okay.
So
How
it
old
was
were
like,
you?
at this point I was 21.
Yeah.
My business, it was an events business, failed at like 19, 20, and I just didn't know what I was going to do. Went to Thailand, saw loads of plastic pollution, and you know, I always make it very clear, you know, I'm not an environmentalist. I would say that I was part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Interesting.
But it was bad, really bad. And we were like, how's this happening? You know, how we, like brands that we grew up loving, Evian, Coke, all these brands, how is this happening? And
what, bottles everywhere?
Bottles everywhere, little pieces of plastic in the sand, like just everywhere. And I think it was just a bit of a shock. And, you know, I talk quite regularly about my my ADHD and my addictive nature. And between the three of us, you know, I'd call us like dropouts, really.
Yeah,
just like complete like fuck ups.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, with like you know, on every entrepreneur, there's some kind of trauma or some kind of something behind it that's like, I've got to prove something. And the truth is, for us, it was like, how is this happening? Why is it happening? Did a lot of research, saw that aluminium is the most recyclable material on the planet. So every can that you've ever drank from has been hundreds of thousands, if not millions of cans over the past, you know, 100, however many years since the 1800s.
Yeah.
And we were just like, why has no one put water in a can? And I think that like there's a million reasons to not put water in a can. Million reasons. Is it going to taste rubbish? You can't see the water. You can't close it. You know, and I think that between the three of us, we were just like, our minds work very different. Our minds are very unconventional. And if everyone's running down one way, I've always been the kid that runs the other way, always. And, you know, Cano was born.
So had nobody put water in a can?
No one. I think that, you know, there was...
And everything else had been put in a can.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
you've got those bottles of Coke, but you can also get cans.
Exactly.
So why do they even do both?
I mean, in all honesty, I think that it's just... You know, it's to have a range. I think that the main thing about cans is that cans are very recyclable. They also are a commodity, so they cost more. So we feel the pain.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, because
it's not the cheap way.
It's not the cheap way. We actually we create issues for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, along the way, we create issues for our customers because they've been getting away with essentially selling plastic bottles for crazy amounts. I mean, you go to a club as an example, you might buy a plastic bottle for £4 of water.
Sure.
That costs them 50p.
Yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't easy. And I think the main thing is that in the beginning is that people thought that we were actually mad. And, you know where I grew up, you know, it's very conventional. A lot of people go down a very samey route, you know, whether it's, you know, the same path as their parents or down a path that, you know, that was always given to them. I was, as I said, like, that was never my path.
Sure.
And
I can definitely relate to that. I think it's a UK thing as well, where people are like, oh, stupid idea, 100%. Get on with what you're doing. In America, it's like, oh, yeah, great.
I talk about this the whole time. Yeah. You know, if someone's driving a Lamborghini down, you know, an American sort of high street, it's like, hey, where did you get that car? How did you do that? Here, it's like, wanker. Like, we are very like that. And that, you know, that is a very good point, because, you know, for Cano, but also for me, it was always, from the earliest of that I can remember in my life, it was always, you can't do that, you can't do that. Always trying to be put into the box, whereas I was always like, no,
almost
and trying
fuels
to pull
it,
myself outside
like,
of the box.
No, I definitely can.
Exactly.
So tell me, like you said, there was a million reasons why you don't put water in a can. Like, talk about some of those problems that you've had to overcome. I mean, I know nothing about this business. I love businesses, obviously. You know, where does the water come from? How does it, you know, like, but talk about like the biggest problems or the first can.
Of course. I mean, one of the biggest things, and I think this is like, there's product, and then there's brand.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that, like, product is one thing.
Yeah.
And I think that at the time when we first started, we thought that was going to be the hard thing, but the hard thing is actually brand and staying relevant and actually convincing people that, one, you're not mad, and actually two, that this is the future.
There's also like the whole distribution network. I'd say there's product, there's brand, and then there's the business side.
100%.
Which is, you can get the product right, you can get the brand right, but
which we have no idea.
If the numbers don't work,
100%.
Then...
And fun enough, when we launched to all the distributors, the numbers don't work, because it's like, why would I buy your product for X% more than I buy a plastic bottle when I'm making great margins on it? You know, I think what we did that was very good, and I think that perception is everything, and naivety is another thing. You know, is we basically were like, we've got no idea what we're doing. We need to create a fake brand. That was basically the plan. We need to create a fake brand and basically build perception and get people to drink this product and fall in love with the idea, the brand, and everything. And I think that the naivety kept us going, because it just, like, a lot of the time it fell flat on its face. But essentially, we always looked at ourselves as like BlackBerry versus Apple.
Yep.
Like, everyone had a BlackBerry, everyone was obsessed with it, handing out their BBM pins, and, you know, it was like, this is it forever. Like, this is my phone forever.
Sure.
And then an iPhone came out, and I remember this. I was always the person that would get the new thing. Yeah. Like, I don't know if do you remember, like, an MP4, like an Arcos, like, you know,
mini disc.
Exactly. I was always that guy that got the thing beforehand. Exactly. And
you still like that?
Always like that.
For sure.
I'm obsessed with culture, music, tech, fashion, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I like things. I like to know about things before.
Yeah.
And I'm that guy that will show everyone a song, and they'll be like, what the hell is this? And then a year later, everyone's listening to it. You know, like, I've always sort of had that in me. And I think that, you know, I was the guy that got the Apple iPhone, and everyone was like, why? And then, like, everyone's got it. And I think that it needed that mentality, because otherwise what ends up happening is that you feel like you're sort of flogging a dead horse, and then you just give up. And
I mean, you just got to keep going.
You just got to keep going.
And
if you believe in it,
so many opportunities to give up.
100%.
You know, there's so many reasons why, so many no's, so many knockbacks.
And that's what we had. You know, we had that constantly. And what we did is we couldn't. I tell this story all the time. Is, you know, we couldn't afford to get cans of water, because in order to, first of all, there was no one in the world that would put water in a can apart from one place in Austria. Okay, we spoke to everyone in the UK, everyone in the US, no one would do it.
Yeah.
One place in Austria was like, we'll do it, mainly because the technical side is, if you want a steel can and you want it to be hard and rigid, you basically needs a shot of air. Yeah. It's different with a sparkling can because it's got carbonation.
Yeah.
But no one had that tooling. And also, the problem with still water is, if it's going through the same pipes as Red Bull and orange juice or whatever, your water will just taste of
whatever
anything else.
In there before.
So we had to basically be the guinea pigs of all of this. And essentially, what they offered to give us was 500 cans of, like, silver cans that didn't even have water in. They just had, like, a sparkling flavour in. And we basically met up after work. I was working, like, in events and not very happy. And The other two were, doing what they were doing. But we're all between the three of us, we're very creative, and we kind of like.
So it was like a side hustle. It was a side every hustle. Night, get together, scribbling stuff down.
We would wrap the can at the top of the can. We would spray it, and then we would do this, and we created these fake cans of water, and we basically just sent out some emails to like Selfridges and London Fashion Week, with a brochure that looked like it was created by Coca-Cola. Like, it looked phenomenal.
It'd be much easier to do now with all the tools that are available. Like, you could
Canva or any of these things. 100%. I'm very fortunate that Perry, my best friend, my business partner, is the most talented designer I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, fine.
We were always going to do something from a brand perspective. And we got an email back from Selfridges and London Fashion Week within like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Selfridges were like, you need to come in now.
Yeah.
Basically, they were like, it's so weird that you emailed us because we've literally decided the week before that we're going to be the first retailer in the whole world to remove all plastic packaging from our shelves. It's like they thought that we had some like insider trading information.
Yeah, but I think the message is you've just got to go for it and reach out. It's what I would call the happy coincidence. If you ask 1,000 people, someone's going to say, "Oh, funny you should mention that."
Yeah, and I think that that we were three kids that had like a belief, but just no confidence.
Yeah.
Really, because we were three kids that everyone
maybe
had told.
Maybe more confidence than you think.
Yes.
In that you're prepared to send an email out without having any 100%. Idea of how you're going to deliver.
The confidence came from, though, like it came from a place of I wouldn't say it's anger, but like, I'm gonna show you. Yeah. My parents have always been very supportive, but they were just like, what? Their friends were like, what's he doing? Why is he doing it? Who's going to buy? My own sister, caught her chatting to one of her mates saying, like, my brother started the most stupid business in the world. It's canned water. And I think that, you hit the nail on the head. We live in a country, sadly, where people are very, very skeptical.
Yeah.
There's no American dream here. Yeah. If anything, it's like the complete opposite.
Agreed.
It's
negativity
no one
everywhere.
wants anyone to win. Everyone's, the only time people want people to, win is when you're doing well and they want a part of it.
Yeah.
And
they want to support the underdog
exactly
until you actually get successful.
Yeah.
And then
and when you fail,
they've
all disappeared. And I've watched that not only like throughout my life, but also kind of through other people's lives.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that is it's a really sad part of the UK, because in the US, and I've spent a lot of time there, everyone wants to, and listen, it may not be as sincere, it may be a little bit fake, but everyone wants everyone to do well.
Like, hey, morning, how you doing? Because I'm hoping to get a tip at the end. But even still, it's infectious.
It's infectious.
And you come home after a few days, and you come back to the UK, and you're like, morning, everyone, how you doing? And everyone's like,
exactly. What wrong with him? 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that is what I've kind of learned is like one of the saddest parts of the UK. I mean, I'm very close with Simon Squibb. I don't know if you know Simon. He's become a good friend of mine. Like, he is someone who is so genuine, so genuine.
Yeah, interesting.
We had a conversation recently, and he was like, people are starting to hate on me.
Yeah.
And we were talking about why, and it's like, I think it's because people in the UK don't necessarily. They don't believe that people can be sincere.
Yeah, I think you're probably
right. we are realistic, but also it's a shame.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, talk about the dynamics of the three partners, because one thing I've learned is I think a lot of businesses that I've seen, good businesses I've seen fail because people fall out for pretty much no good reason.
Yeah.
Obviously, when money's involved, people get greedy, and I'm very, very fortunate. It's my best friend from school. We've built loads of businesses together. We sit next to each other all day.
Yeah.
My kids are best friends, so I can kind of relate.
Yeah.
But how do the dynamics work? What happens if there's who's got the final say if that ever happens?
For sure.
Or
It's really difficult to work with friends, especially if you're not aligned. I feel like if you're aligned, it's a lot easier. It's been tough. I'll be honest with you. I think that because we started the business so young, it was our first proper business. It was my sort of second business, but it was my first business. The one in events was like crazy quick growth and then incredibly quick downfall. So this was kind of like it was more like real,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it was in the early days there was definitely a lot of arguments,
Sure.
a lot of like disagreements, and I think over time we kind of learnt each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, because
it's
that's the key.
really,
Everybody
really,
played to your strengths.
Exactly.
And, try to make sure everybody's adding value as well.
Of course.
I think at one point it's like, oh yeah, I agree with him, or I agree with him.
100%. And I don't know with your business partner, like whether your first business that you started, there was a bit of tension, or there had ever been a bit of tension, but it's really not, you never want that.
No.
But I think the most difficult thing is actually going into business with people who you know them outside of business. You know them in a different light. And it's the same with, it's the same with all three of us. It's like, I think being in business is very different than being friends.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I was talking about this yesterday, but I think it's quite unusual. But I've got, firstly, my best friend's my business partner, and I don't think we've ever had a crossword. I think it comes down to kind of mutual respect.
Yeah.
So if one of us ever says, that's it, we're doing this, then, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And it's rare we ever have a crossword. But then I've also got, like, my eldest sister, Kelly, works for the business.
Yeah.
I worked with my dad for many years in the past. My missus works for the business. My nephew works for the business. So I think what you were saying before, I feel strongly that I am exactly the same person. If I go to my mum's for Friday night dinner, or if I go into the city to try and raise £500 million, I'm wearing the same, I'm saying the same, I'm literally try to be as myself as possible. And I think that's the key. And I think if you go into the office and you're like, right now I'm your boss. At the end of the day, I want people to feedback and be honest in real time, and I will do as well.
I've always been like that.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm the CEO of the business now. When I first started Cano, I never in a million years thought that I could be the CEO. And obviously also we started as like between the founders, like we were all sort of, level. I think the thing that I sort of learned about myself, I've never had a skill, if that makes sense. I've just been good at
doing stuff.
Loads of different things and doing stuff. Exactly. And I think that's what I've surprised myself massively about, is that, I've been the sales guy, and I still am. And I've been the ops guy. I've been the guy in the warehouse cleaning the whole warehouse and doing the pallets. And I've been the guy that's still handing out cans and would do a train station or an event. I have always had that sort of like janitor CEO mentality, like nothing math, like, and I think that's really important.
I think that's what makes the best CEO. So for me, when I walk around my office, I don't think there's any or many jobs that I haven't done myself.
Exactly.
It's kind of easy for me to ask for something or expect something, because if it doesn't, I think also I feel ultimately responsible for everything. So I'm not one to walk around and say, well, how did we fuck that up? What have you done? It'll be like, I feel genuinely like it's my fault. Because I've either asked the wrong person to do something, or I didn't check something that should have gone out. So if you give away responsibility, ultimately it's, the buck still stops with you. But tell me then, when did the three of you say, right, we need to quit our other jobs and be, this is actually happening now? What was that moment like?
When I was really unhappy at the time. So I was like ready anyway. I mean, between the three of us, when we got our Selfridges order and the London Fashion Week piece sort of came into play, we basically raised some money, and we brought some angels into the business that had basically just sold a big insurance company, and they were looking at something to sort of get involved in. And, I respect them massively, because they were three guys who, similar to us, we were introduced to them by fluke, literally by fluke, and at the right time. And I think they just believed in us. I mean, no one could believe in canned water. I mean, they looked at it and I think they thought it was really cool, but they believed in us. At that point, when we sort of raised, a little bit of money, I was the first one that was like, all right, cool. I left my job, and
you felt some responsibility, like, we need to make sure we give this the best
shot. Exactly. But I was ready at this point. Like, I was crying out for purpose, and I'm one of these people that when I'm obsessed with something, I give it my all. Like
Yeah,
nothing is stopping me. And also that determination and that naivety of like people not thinking that it's going to work gives me that, you know, that drive of like, I'm making this happen one way or another.
There's a bit of the story missing. So you've got these cans that don't have your product inside. It's more, as you said, branding. Selfridges say, get your ass here as soon as you can. Then you've got to start thinking, shit, we need to actually get water in a can.
100%. Once we got the money, we got it.
So then it was a case of find the right
co-packer. I mean, we basically, that was these guys in Austria.
Yeah.
You know, they were happy to do it.
So they basically said, as long as like, this is how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And then you can
it was like, you know, it was like 60, 70 grand. I'm a DJ. I've been DJing since I was 11 years old.
Fine.
DJ'd all over the world, done some pretty cool things. And I was sort of bankrolling the business up until then, like trademark and those cans, the silver cans, like all of those things. Like we're talking like 5-10 grand, but I couldn't afford anything near to what we needed. I didn't want to go to my parents don't have this kind of money. And, you know, we needed this investment. So the investment enabled us to get an office, pay like a tiny salary, and to me, because I was the one sort of working, and get the cans made. And I'll never forget, we went to Austria, the first can came off and we tasted it and we were like, oh, it tastes like water. Like, that was like the most important thing.
Tastes like water's like an interesting saying, because what does water taste like?
Do you know how difficult it is to like, we've sampled millions of cans, and in the early days we'd sample a can and people would just be like, it just tastes like water. But that's a good thing from a canned perspective, because if it tastes like blueberry, then you know that you're in trouble.
Or something you're not expecting.
And that was the thing.
Is water tasteless then, or does it have a taste?
It definitely has a taste, and I could taste the difference between different brands. I could definitely taste the difference between tap water and we're very good high quality spring water. I also think that it tastes different in different packaging. I could taste the difference between a plastic bottle or, I don't know if you've had water out of a carton, like tastes horrible. Cans and glass are quite similar. Cans stay colder for longer. So our first slogan was water tastes better out of a can. We used to literally stand there and people would look at us like we were just mental.
But you wanted to face head on the fact that that was going to be the first question. It's like objection handling, basically.
100%. And I think that people would laugh at us, but then they would taste it and they would kind of just be like, it just tastes of water. But we would get mocked a lot in the early days.
By who? Or just everyone?
By randomers, by randomers.
So who was tasting it? Like you?
We would turn up at events. We would honestly, like, we'd be at train stations at 5 a.m. in the morning, just handing them out to people.
So basically, the plan in the beginning was just give them away as many as we can.
Giving
them away.
We were just giving them away. I mean, our first sort of 10,000 Instagram followers were basically just like, we would give cans to people and ask them to follow us on Instagram, just so we basically could capture them. So when we posted next, that they would be remember that, oh yeah, we got a can from those guys in the morning. We are brand people and marketing people. We make noise, and that's what we did. But the only issue that we had is that it wasn't that we were neglecting distribution and sales. It was that no one in that world would even look at us. They would. I'd never done.
That wasn't an option. Basically.
No, I'd never done a cold call in my life before Cano Water, really. And I'll be honest with you, I was petrified of cold calling. And my first call.
Who was it you were calling?
We were just calling wholesalers.
Yeah.
And what we learned very quickly, like, we would go around London and we would, go into stores and we would say, like, oh, like, is the purchasing person here? And we've got this new brand, and they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. They would give us an email. The email would basically say, we buy through a wholesaler. We would then go to the wholesaler. The wholesaler would say, we need at least 20 customers in order to list you. And it was like a chicken and eggs. Then we had to go out and find the 20 customers. And it was painful.
But Selfridges helped.
Selfridges helped. Selfridges were like, because Selfridges cared,
Yeah.
and they were adamant that they wanted to do something about it. So they put their
price. And price isn't important.
Price wasn't important because of exactly.
Yeah.
So like they were so adamant they wanted Cano Water to be part of it, and that was like a bit of a false hope. Because,
fair enough.
Like we had got.
There's not many of them.
No, we had got like a few 100,000 cans made. We thought that Selfridges were going to take loads, and they took like a few hundred cans or 1,000 cans.
Yeah.
So we were sitting in this office, like calling up everyone and getting laughed at, and it was just demoralising.
Is that what your 70 grand got you?
Basically.
Yeah, like 100,000 cans.
100,000 cans. Small salary for me in an office.
Yeah.
And it was just honestly for 3 years it was demoralising.
So those cans literally took you 3 years to get rid of them. Even giving we
went through loads. We probably got through that few 100,000 cans in about like a year and a half. We were selling it. We got into like Whole Foods. We got into Selfridges and a few little things here and there, but no one really cared. And we were 3 years in. We had probably sold like 400,000 or 500,000 cans. The business wasn't getting anywhere. We had made noise, like we had sure. like we were the water at the Oscars in LA. We had like David Gandy was a fan of Cano, Ellie Goulding, all these people. We were at events and we were doing cool stuff. But we brought in an MD who basically was just like, listen, I'm just going to be real with you. The money's running out. You've got 6 months runway left. The business isn't growing. It's small. We've got 6 months to turn this around. Let's just give it our all. And we did. We gave it our absolute all. Not much more than we were doing before.
Yeah.
But on the second to last month, so like 4 months post that, David Attenborough did Blue Planet.
Yeah.
And it just went mental overnight. We went from being the biggest fad, everyone thought we were crazy, to like family friends who thought I was an idiot, sending texts being like, oh, has Josh seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And, overnight the business kind of like, went from nothing to, something, which was amazing, but also scary.
Yeah. And at this point, are you still using the Austrian... Do you still use them now?
Yeah, because we've moved quite recently because no one really thought canned water would be a thing until only 2-3 years ago. We're 10 years old, but we're not. We're actually, I say with the beginning of people thinking we were stupid and COVID, we're actually only really a few years old. I mean, canned water.
We haven't really reinvented the business, but it's, I guess, got to. Maybe what you're saying is it actually feels like a business now, whereas before it was more of a branding exercise, as you said. Like, can we get in the right places, get the can in the right hand?
100%, exactly. And I think that was... I think at the beginning it was like 3 friends just running around like headless chickens and getting somewhere, but really it was never really a business. And I think that when my MD came in, me and him built a phenomenal relationship where, he taught me a lot of the things that I know today.
Yeah.
And I'm not a...
Is he not with the business anymore?
He is.
So you're the CEO.
So I'm the CEO. He's my COO.
Yeah, fine.
And he taught me a lot of the things that I didn't know around like finance. He comes from a banking background.
Sure.
And
it's basically, I guess, like our version of going to school.
Yeah.
So
literally.
that's how I how I enjoy learning.
Yeah.
On the job, where
100%.
Okay, that doesn't work. Let's not do that again.
Exactly.
Hang on, this guy's good. He can add some value. How do we bring him in? Put him in the org chart.
Yeah.
And, so how many people do you employ now?
So now there's 12 of us.
Yeah.
We're still quite lean.
Yeah.
It's, the past 24 months have been very interesting for Cano because, we've seen over the past few years, we were the first people to put water in a can in the world. All of a sudden, all of the companies that completely neglected the business or thought that canned water would never be a thing have put water in cans.
So
which has been, do you know what? It's our reason for starting this business was to wake up the sleepy industry of plastic, the plastic warriors, whatever you want to call them. And that's our plan was always to get the brands to put water in a can. You know, and when I see smart water in a can in the US, it actually like makes me proud.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think other people, you know, like
also they're raising awareness. I mean, it's like the market
exactly.
is. I don't know. I'm sure you've sort of run something. It's
300 billion.
Yeah, it's
enormous. It's enormous and only growing.
Yeah.
I think the
more people that do it, the better.
Exactly.
In some respects, especially if you're like the iPhone of
100%
water. Like people will call other cans of water Cano Water.
And it's so funny that you pick up on that, because we've seen that so many times where like.
You're like, no, it's not. That's not a Cano.
Exactly. And that was actually, do you know what? That was part of the marketing plan.
For sure.
Of
Absolutely.
the name. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it does what it says on the tin.
It does what it says on the tin. And I think that, you know, it's building a business is, especially in today's, you know, market and in today's world, is really, really hard. And I just don't think that anyone realizes how hard it is until you're in it. And you know, you don't have a safety blanket underneath you, and you have to make it work.
One stupid decision can turn everything upside down overnight.
100%.
And, you know, when you get to a certain level, when you're making so many cans, one person decides they're going to go to the other. It can affect you massively.
Exactly. And we've had that.
Yeah.
And I think that is, you know, that is, as a founder, probably the toughest thing is that I've had to sort of endure is that resilient mentality. I mean, when I started Cano, I had gone through a lot of personal problems in my life, and I had gone through that and come out the other end and was very strong there, but had never dealt with anything businessy. And it's like, it's your baby, you know? So, you know, as you grow, and the roller coaster's going up and down, and you've experienced real lows, and then you're up. When another low happens, you've got to be prepared for it.
Yeah, for sure.
And you've got a team, and you've got, you know, you've got
like, you're pivoting all the time.
All the time.
It's, you know, it's not. There is never a time where you put your feet up and think, okay, we've done it.
No, and that's actually, for me, actually personally, as a CEO, that's actually been the hardest thing for me, to becoming the CEO. One, I never really believed that I, you know, had the right to be the CEO, because of, you know, never was my first time, you know. Until kind of like the board were like, you know, you should be the CEO. But the truth is it's being the CEO for me has been difficult, because I'm so used to sort of getting my hands dirty in all different areas, and I'm so used to like being the salesperson or being and being the CEO has been difficult, because it's kind of like being a bit of everything. I mean, it's the way I see being a CEO is problem solving. So 100%.
Problems that come up, or problems that you think might come up.
100%.
Constantly kind of thinking, okay, how are we going to deal with that? So what's changed? How have you changed as a CEO
since being CEO? Do you know what? Like I've
how does your sort of your day to day?
I give my. Do you know what? A lot of my day to day
delegate.
Delegation is one thing which do you know what? I don't have an issue with. I would say that before being a CEO, I was definitely. I've never been like a micromanaging individual. I think the difference between me now is that I'm as the CEO, I am a lot more kind of like hands-on in. I'm a direct report to quite a few, to quite a few people. The problem-solving thing is instrumental. I've always been very good at that. One thing that I've always been very good at is that when shit hits the fan, I am like. This is definitely like for me, like it's an ADHD thing. Like in the chaos, I'm like, I'm the best.
Best when your back's against the wall.
Exactly. There's been times where everyone else is like, we're not going to like, how are we going to do that? How are we going to deal with this? How are we going to deal with this? And I'm kind of like, let me make a call, or let's go down this route, or as you said, like, you know, pivot. A lot of my time spent fundraising now, which, to be completely honest with you, like, I don't have experience in that world, and it's very difficult. And I think I've learned so much about that world, especially in what I would argue is probably the hardest time from a fundraising perspective, especially in sort of like the consumer goods world. But I've learned a lot.
Storytelling is the way that I would describe it.
It is.
And also you said right at the beginning, the first people that invested, do they believe, do they back 100%. You, do they trust you? So why are you fundraising now? What are you fundraising for?
So the business is in a place where we've got some incredible opportunities, basically. So we're looking at some new products, whether that being, can't really go into.
I was going to ask you that because it's, I guess you filled the gap that wasn't there.
Exactly. And I think, listen, we've done, we'll continue. Listen, right, we'll always continue to, but we've sold close to 100 million cans just with still and sparkling water. Yeah. We are looking at potential flavors in different guises. So like, that's all I can give you. But it's very exciting, and it's something that is I'm very passionate about. So it sits very well with me and my other founder, who is, it's a passion, a bit of a passion project. We will never ever launch anything where there isn't some kind of purpose or authenticity behind it. Like, we just don't see any
it's
point
not
in
like
it.
someone saying, oh, if we do this we can make some more money.
Exactly.
You want to love it.
Exactly. We've never been like that. So that's something that's going to be launching next year, and we're also looking at another canned variant, so another format, which is something that has done very well in the US. So that is something that we're looking at launching for next year. We've got some great opportunities there, and some we're able to do things that no one else will be able to do in the UK with the format that we're looking at, which is very exciting. Working capital to grow the business.
I assume is the UK a big part of the business?
Yeah, it's the biggest part of the business.
Is it?
Yeah, the US is something that we're looking at, which is also part of the part of the fundraise. We've got a phenomenal opportunity there. I mean, the most difficult thing actually about what we do is that it's not very easy to just get up and build a business in another country. It's not like, I guess, tech where
you can switch it on there.
Exactly.
You need to physically get heavy cans from.
It's
you're
heavy.
Not going to make them in the
you
same
have to
place.
store it.
Yeah.
You have to find the place that has the right water. A million things.
Sure. It's basically like starting again from scratch, albeit some of the pitfall. At least this time you're a bit more prepared. 100%. And listen, know that it's going to burn a hole in your pocket if it sits around for too long.
Exactly. And the other thing is like you can't neglect your home market. The UK is our home market.
Yeah.
You can't neglect that. That's really
basically what you're saying is it's a big distraction.
Huge.
Like just suck on your time and energy.
As an example, is like it's the scariest place.
Yeah. Not only is it the US, it's like 50 different states.
Exactly.
Everyone's got different
100%.
rules, regulations.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, the thing for us is that we've got opportunity there, like with the water for the F1 out there.
Oh, yeah.
We that's come from us being the water for the F1 in the UK, and we do that in the US. We get emails from some of the biggest hotels and events and venues, whatever it is.
What might seem like a really big win, actually for you, is like a big fat pain in the arse.
It's a headache.
Yeah,
it's
how
a
am I
headache.
going to get
and that's the problem.
Like one random hotel in the US wants
exactly.
That's not actually.
But even the biggest hotel group, like even if you were to do like a very large hotel group, it still might not want, like, the capital that you need for that is enormous. So I think that we've got to be realistic, and I think that's been one of the biggest challenges. So all of that, as I said, like working capital, and also like to manage the opportunity in the UK that we've got at the moment, which is very, very large.
Yeah.
But you need funding for that too. And the thing is that in what we do, funding does really, really create growth.
Yeah.
If deployed in the right way.
Sure.
And I think we're at this stage now where we've grown a business so organically.
Yeah.
We've raised money, we've got...
You've raised, obviously, since your very first...
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've raised, in our entirety, we've raised, around around £6-7 million. We've got Ricky Gervais is one of our biggest investors, Dave the rapper, the Sidemen. All these guys have come in and invested their own money into the business.
I was actually going to say, I mean, it's sometimes not just about the money, is it? It's
100%.
also the, who can I put on the cap table? How much do they care? What can they bring to the party?
And they're all, they all do. The Sidemen represent, Cano quite a bit. We've just become the Water for Ballers League. Things like this, and Ricky Gervais posts us all the time, and we're seen in Dave's studio, and it's it's been that is great. One thing that we have never been is sort of like got big for our boots and been like, we've got that, and therefore because we've always been very, very humble, very humble of we've had the biggest names from Bill Gates to Kardashians, Drake, whoever it is holding our cans. Yeah. It's really cool, and don't get me wrong. The other day Ed Sheeran and whoever we still need to build the business and build the brand.
Still a company.
It's clout at the end of the day.
It's kind of evidence as well that I guess it gives you the confidence to lean in, but actually it's not like, okay, well look, we've just that means this 100%. To the bottom line. It
just says Cano's in the right place.
Yeah.
And we are, we do a lot of big events. We do, some exciting things, but at the same time, we can't get distracted. And I've seen a lot of people get very easily distracted. But we're living in as we've said a few times, in this country, we're living in a very difficult time. And I think the budgets can be very telling. And I think a lot of people are, waiting to see what happens. And I've seen in the past 10 years, I've seen real ups and downs in the UK. Sure. And I've never seen it so difficult.
I agree. I mean, I went to an event yesterday, and I actually agree wholeheartedly with what Rob said, Rob Sultani. But basically, it's like in the US, going back to that same sort of theme, like New Yorkers love New York. They're proud to be from New York. Yeah. And in London, there's just the kind of opposite at the moment, where everyone's bitching and moaning about 100%. Fucking everything.
Yeah.
And it just, there's so much good here.
Yeah. No, there is.
Everyone's talking about, I'm going to live in Dubai, I'm going to live here in the tax regime. But I think it is, it's like, go try live somewhere else. Yeah. See what that's like.
See, funny enough for me, I don't, this is a personal thing. I don't mind, listen, I'm happy to pay tax. Yeah, sure. I'm
the bigger your tax bill, the better you're doing.
Exactly. Funny enough, I've never really cared about that. For me, it's always been about mentality, and always been about, I'm an optimist. Yeah, I've always been an optimist. I think the difficult thing for me is when the optimists are becoming pessimistic, and I think that's one of the big things for me is that I want to build great things. I want to do it in a place that that creates, that creates opportunity and creates, a lot of excitement. And listen, I love the UK.
Yeah.
I really, really do. For me, if I was to ever move, it would be the weather. It wouldn't be the tax issue.
I mean, I put my problem solver hat on, and I think even with the budget that's coming up or whatever else it may be, tell me what the problems are and then leave me to it.
100%.
And also, the more people that leave, the better, as far as I'm concerned. If you don't like it, you're not happy.
Of course, then
you want some better weather or a better tax regime,
for sure.
Then just go. But I think. And that leaves more opportunity for those of us who want to stay here, work hard, and make something happen. Yeah. And I agree. Part of it's not just about how financially successsul the business is, although that is obviously a measure of whether it's worth carrying on or not. But it's like, do I like it? Do I enjoy it? Do people, is there like a positive energy around the business? Yeah. And that's super important to me as well. But it is interesting times. Don't get me wrong. If you think about like you said, the last decade of the dictators with red buttons everywhere and interest rates, of course, it's mad.
Yeah,
turn the news on. So then
it's just all negative.
Yeah, it's all negative.
And listen, I agree. And listen, I am still optimistic. I think that I'm a bit more pessimistic for the short term. but I think that I'm optimistic for the future because I
But for
think
your
that
business, the market, like we just said, the market's so big
100%.
that really it's down to you whether something's not going to happen where it's like, okay, this isn't a good idea anymore.
No, of course. Yeah. I think the thing for us is the as a purpose-led business, we rely heavily on people understanding that there is a global plastic problem.
Yeah.
Plastic is very cheap.
Yeah.
Which makes it incredibly, it's an incentive, I guess, for people to kind of be like, well, I know that there's a plastic problem, but I've got a problem, like I can't even pay my rent.
Sure, that's a problem, yeah.
And I think that, for us, we've got a saying, it might cost more, but it doesn't cost the earth.
Yeah.
We've seen how bad the problem is.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. And I think that 3 or 4 years ago, people thought very differently to how they think now. Yeah. I think people are thinking now very pessimistically about
climate change,
everything. Yeah. Like, it's kind of like, I'll put that at the back of my mind because I really need to concentrate on X. And, we've even seen it in the past year where people who were selling cans have gone back to plastic bottles.
Yeah. It doesn't help when the government do complete U-turn all of a sudden,
100%.
These things don't have to be net zero carbon
exactly.
by 2030.
Exactly. 100%.
That can't help.
And we know the problem's only getting worse.
Yeah,
there's only...
This isn't like, you can, like you said, it came from you physically seeing plastic everywhere. And I guess there are threats to the business. Talk of being, making plastics biodegradable and additives into the plastic. And, and you're competing against pretty big. You talk about having to fundraise all the time. You're competing against endless pots.
Endless. I mean, the truth is, we shouldn't really still be alive as a business.
What's the end game? Like what? I mean.
Listen, I think
if you're because ultimately, if you're trying to raise capital, people want to know. Okay, so I'm putting my money in now. Then what? And 100%. That's really
I mean, listen. The end game for us is to build a business that is, and I've seen this for quite a long time. The vision of this is a multifaceted business that has different sort of brands sitting underneath it.
Yeah.
Under the Cano umbrella. We've got some, as I said before, some incredible...
Is that the marketing in you, basically? It might not be a can of water, but...
Maybe. Who knows? I think that, that is, that's something that we've always, funny enough, wanted to do from the very beginning. I think that I've seen a lot of brands pivot too early and then just like you
said, you haven't made it yet.
Exactly. So I think for us, it's... we've waited for the right time to really get the business to a place where, people know it, people see it, people understand it, they
don't think you're crazy anymore.
Exactly. So, lean on to potentially other areas, which, and other places that we really believe in, and I think that's something that for this flavored product that we're looking at is very exciting because it has got a lot of purpose behind it. But the end game really is to build the business to the biggest that we can potentially do ourselves. I see, someone coming in and potentially, taking the business and doing bigger and better things.
Joe, how many cans do you sell now?
So we sell anything from sort of 12 to 15 million cans a year at the moment.
Yeah.
So
1 million cans a month.
Yeah. I mean, in sometimes a few million in a month.
And where are they going? I mean.
Anything from hotels, coffee shops,
so you've got
Tesco.
These distributors now, and you find a new distributor who's unlocks all of these customers.
Yeah, I mean, some of our distributors will take millions of cans a year.
Yeah.
The big ones, Amazon and Ocado, huge customers for us.
Yeah.
I mean, something that's really sort of surprised me.
I guess that's the obvious way to crack the US, isn't it?
Yeah, Amazon US is key, 100%. But I think the thing that's been really interesting is seeing our online growth grow through Amazon and Ocado because they're buying a crate of 24 cans. It's very interesting. If you had said to me a few years ago, people will be buying 24 cans of water on a card on Amazon, I would be like, why? But post-COVID, I think people are not, they are shopping more, you know, online. They're not going into Tesco as much and buying a 24 pack of something. And it's been really exciting to see that, because what it really shows is that the consumer out there, you know, we've grown like 200% on Amazon. The consumer out there is choosing Cano, which is really nice.
Do you have different? You've obviously got fizzy water and still water.
Yeah.
Do you have different size cans?
Yes, we've got a 500ml can, which is resealable. We've also got a small can like this, 330ml, that's also resealable.
Okay.
That's a technology that we launched with 10 years ago. A German company that have created like a phenomenal technology that we've licensed. You know, I think that's also been a learning. We always thought that, you know, people will always want to reseal their can because, you know, versus a plastic bottle. But you know, we've seen both, really. We've seen both work well.
I guess it's like you said before about Coca-Cola having plastic bottles and cans. It's just
exactly,
you know,
offering the consumer a choice.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Super interesting. I guess as you've got more successful, I mean, as the business has become more well known, people gravitate towards you, wanting advice, help, support.
Always.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard sometimes because I've got two hats that I play. I've got the Cano Water hat, and then I've got like a mental health hat outside of Cano, you know, where I get a lot of people from a Cano perspective coming to me for sort of business advice, advising, consulting, and a lot of the time I just can't do it. I'm actually I've always been very sort of, I help everyone that comes to me, but I've also got Cano that I'm building, so I kind of like I make it very clear that, you know, I'm concentrating on that, and you know, there's been many opportunities that I've missed out on because of that, but I've actually been very
you have to get better at saying no.
100%.
And even when something piques your interest or you think you can actually add value, it's like, I need to stay focused.
100%.
You're the CEO of a big business, doing 1 million cans a month. Someone needs to be.
And I've had to do that. You know, I do a lot of things like this, and you know, I speak at a lot of sort of businesses. I was at Uber a few months ago, and you know, I was a guest speaker at a big company the other day, and talking about, you know, the business. And then outside of Cano, like my real sort of, you know, my real purpose hat is helping people with addiction and ADHD, which, in all honesty, is a big part of business, because there's a lot of people out there that are massively struggling.
Yeah. The two are completely intertwined.
Exactly. And I think that
it used to be separate
massively.
But now, obviously, if you want to be, and same for you, I assume, if you want to be at your best, you need to be aware of what's holding you back and how to address it.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much the same for everyone,
100%.
diagnosed or undiagnosed. It's like, how can I?
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm just very focused on being better today than I was yesterday, and I find a lot. I take a lot from just that 1%'s good enough for me. Yeah. Like if I can recognise something that 100%. I shouldn't have done yesterday, and in reality I probably won't do again today. Yeah. And you keep doing that every single day, you get better and better and better 100%. And better, super quick.
Yeah, and it's like, it's also important to just sort of pat yourself on the back sometimes. I feel like, you know, we're all running at 1,000 miles per hour.
Don't do that very often.
And no one does. And that's the thing. Like, I've probably had in 10 years like one or two moments where I've sort of taken a step back and been like, you know, looked at it all, and we are, you know, we put a lot of time and energy into what we build, and it can be very, very difficult. And I think sometimes it's just important to just breathe.
Yeah, I say like go for a walk sometimes, probably a good place to end. Super interesting.
Thank you.
I've really enjoyed it. Pleasure. And I'm sure we'll catch up again.
Definitely. Let's do it.
Yeah. Thanks very much, everybody. See you next time.